Hey everybody, this is take 3 or 4 of recording class. I'm sorry I've been missing. Been dealing with a lot and I've been sick. You can probably still hear it. But I didn't do any research for this one. This is more of a opinion thing. It's based off of a conversation that I had with a friend of mine a while back ago. We were talking about what the difference between light magic and dark magic is. She proposed the question to me. She said she'd talked to a few friends and gotten differing opinions and things like that, and was asking for my input. And the conclusion I came to was everything is different shades of gray. Just as quickly as you can use dark magic for dark reasons, you can use light magic for dark reasons. But let me rewind. The kind of magic you use is not as important as the intention behind what you're doing, per se. Some people consider Return to Sender as dark magic. It's really not. It is, but it isn't. Think of a color spectrum. Just the spectrum from black to white and the different shades of gray. Tons of different shades of gray, right? Okay. You have your light, pure, almost angelic magic. There's no anger, there's no fear, there's no nothing. Just happiness, kindness, and joy. Okay? And then each shade of gray you hop into, it leads into your reasoning. Let me explain. I know people who shield themselves and use, basically when they shield, they envision mirrors all around them. I started doing this myself. Basically to reflect any negative energy away from them. Typically this is done out of not necessarily a extreme amount of fear, but it's almost like a protection. It's protection magic is what it is. But those mirrors that you put up on your shield are considered Return to Senders by all technicality, which in some circles is considered a form of shadow magic. Shadow magic or protection magic, it depends on who you talk to and what circle you're in. But that is a different shade of gray. Then you have your Return to Sender. Some people consider it baneful magic. It's really not. Some people consider it protective magic. Some people consider it karmic magic. I'm of the opinion it is karmic magic and protective magic. But it is still just one shade darker than those mirrors, okay? And it's still not that dark at all. Like, barely darker than the mirrors. Because of the intent, but where it is on that spectrum also depends on the intent and how you do it. That's the biggest thing. Each one of these shades, it can vary on that scale depending on why. What is your intent Why are you doing this? Okay. My friend had given me an amazing example. She said, in the U.S., we have a program called Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. I know not everyone that watches is in America, but in America we have this program. It's also called MADD, because Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, MADD. But it was created by a woman who lost her child because of a drunk driver. And because they were mourning, they were pissed off, they were scared for other children, they wanted to make a program to help keep what happened to her child from happening to another child. Okay. The result, amazing. Good work. Honest work. Helpful. But the shadow of it is it came out, it was built from a place of anger, mourning, fear. For every light, there is a shadow. For there is light, there is dark. It is a yin and yang type thing. You cannot have one without the other. Which is why I kind of put things on a sliding scale. Now, if you're doing something just to spite someone, just to get back at someone, just to hurt someone, then we're getting in the realm of dark magic. If you hex someone or curse someone out of spite, out of hate, that is dark magic. If you say severely injure someone, trying to force a... Let me rephrase. Rewind. Okay. If you do something like try to drag someone into astral without their consent, that is dark magic. Because you need consent. Everything is revolved around consent. If you do it without consent, it can kill them. I know. It happened to me. I almost died. It is part of the reason I went missing for a month. If you are doing something because you are making a deal or a pact with someone or something in trade for power, or because you are envious of what that other person may not even realize they have, you are jumping into a darker realm of magic. Intent matters. The why matters. The why always matters almost more than the what. Almost. Because the why is your intention. It's the, okay, for example, I'm going to hex this person. Okay, why are you doing it? Because they hurt my kid. Not a real situation that I've been in or dealt with, but loose example. Okay, well, shit, you're protecting your baby. Is it on the darker end a little bit? Yes. But you have to realize at the same time, and I know not in every occult realm does this necessarily apply, but there's always a form of karma, no matter what you believe. In Wicca, it is the rule of 3. Most people just call it karma. If you're going to jump into Christian religions that say what you reap is what you reap what you sow, it's all the same concept. With Wicca, it is what you send out is coming back to you threefold. So if you do something with ill intent, something bad, something negative, something despicable, it's hitting you 3 times over. I'm pretty sure even in Hoodoo Voodoo and Santeria there is a form of it. I don't know exactly what it's called though. But I've vaguely heard about it, and if I had the energy to do the research, I would have figured out what it was called. If anyone knows, please put it in the comments. But I know, or in the chat, because I know there is some form of karma or the rule of 3 or something of that sort in Santeria and Hoodoo and Voodoo. It could probably even be some like weird afterlife-y thing, but I don't know. But yeah, like I said, and the word shadow is not a bad thing per se. I'm sorry if you're hearing weird stuff. The kids are playing and they're being weird. But shadow work, it's not a bad thing. It's not a dark thing. There's nothing innately negative about it. Layman's terms for what shadow work is basically self-therapy. You're working through your past traumas. You are working through everything to gain mental clarity and relief, because otherwise you are going to end up in an endless cycle, or worse off, a dangerous situation. I would not advise anyone to go into astral unless they have worked through all their trauma and done their shadow work. I wouldn't advise it. Again, I got dragged. I still have shadow work to do. A lot of shadow work to do. That's why I came out the other side as bad as I did. And also, no form of witchcraft is innately evil. There's the good side to it, there's the bad side to it. But most people lean towards the middle, towards good. Again, intention. And that goes with any spiritual belief, witches are not innately evil. Most of them are not. Good and evil is honestly a human construct. But witches are not evil, per se. Most witches are healers or empaths. You do have the few outliers that are in it for strictly power or attention. And then you've got some of the TikTok witches who, not ones that share stuff on TikTok per se, but the ones who aren't fully learning and doing the heavy work they need to do and are just following spells on TikTok, doing the things they see on TikTok. They're not evil. They're harmless. But the ones you got to be wary of are the ones that are out for power or attention. The TikTok witches, the only dangerous thing about them is they do not typically, there is the exceptions, but they do not typically grasp the full weight of what they're doing. They don't grasp the possible repercussions for everything they do. And it's not so much that they're a danger to anyone else, but a lot of the times they are putting themselves at risk when they don't do the extra research and learn exactly what they're doing and what the end result might be for them and how it will affect them. But yeah, hoodoo, voodoo, Santeria, it's the same thing. I don't believe anyone is innately bad. I don't believe that most practices I do not believe are innately bad. When it comes to paganism and the witchy side of things, you have your outliers. But like I said, with your outliers, the ones that are bad, it's about intention. Do they fully understand what they're doing? Do they fully understand the repercussions of what they're doing? And then also, are they just trying to start shit? Yeah, I'm far enough in the video I can cuss. Are they literally just trying to start shit? Why are they doing it? Before you do any work, any spell work, candle work, anything, potions, anything, even brewing tea. If you see a thing for tea online that is supposed to give you good luck or money or whatever, you need to ask yourself, why am I doing this? For what reason am I doing this? If you're doing a money spell to get rich, it's not going to work. It's not how the universe works, baby. I hate to tell you. If you're doing it for a little help, just a little help, a little nudge, just to help you get by, then you might have a chance. Hexes, and curses, you need to think long and hard about before you do. Because they will come back to bite you in the ass. I purposely avoid doing hexes or curses for that reason. Because I'm dealing with enough. I'm not going to do just something to somebody because I'm pissed and have that turn around and bite me in the ass. I can't afford that. It's just realistic. If you can afford the backlash, go ahead, but you don't know what way that backlash is going to hit you. It could be illness, it could be injury, financial ruin, reputational ruin. It can go a lot of different ways. And to me, it's not worth it. Karmic work is fine to me. Karma is going to hit that person anyways. At least with the karma work I do, it just speeds up the process a little bit. That's all. It's kind of like adding a little jet fuel to your gas tank. Not that you should do that. God, no. But, it's just, it's like, NOS. Like with the race cars and the NOS and the video games. And then you hit the button and then pew! Yeah, it speeds up the process. And which, depending on the situation, can be helpful. If you are in a iffy, risky situation because of whoever you need to do the karma work on, yeah, I get it. But if it's something where it's like, okay, they're just annoying me, no. Ain't worth it. It's not worth the time, it's not worth the energy. And it takes a lot of energy. Return to senders are perfectly fine. Like I said, in some circles they're considered baneful magic. At least that's what some TikTok witches will tell you. Or it's considered dark magic, which some other TikTok witches will tell you. It's considered shadow magic per se. It's not dark magic, and it's not baneful. Unless your intent is to be baneful. And you can do a return to sender without even putting a person's name on the candle. You can do a return to sender and literally just wish it be returned to whoever did it to you. Because a lot of times when you need to do a return to sender, the reason why you don't do it is because you don't know who did the thing to you. And it's if you think you've been cursed or hexed or something of that sort, and you don't know exactly who did it, one, you got to figure out why you got so many enemies if you can't figure out exactly who did it. But then again, it could be one of those things where it's a toss-up between, like, two people. But anyways, if you can't figure out who did it, just do a vague return to sender. Return this curse to whoever sent it to me. And be done with it. It'll go where it needs to go. Might take a little while, but it'll go where it needs to go. And end of the day, karma's going to hit back that person anyways. 10 times harder than you would be able to do by hexing them or cursing them. And you don't have to worry about them doing a return to sender back. Because you can't return to sender or return to sender. At least I don't think you can. Because you're literally just giving back to them what they gave to you. Because I feel like if you could return to sender or return to sender, that would just be an endless cycle of shit and petty. And ain't no one got time for that. But anyways, moral of the story is, I'm sorry, this is like long-winded and in circles, but moral of the story is, there's no real pure light, pure dark. Everything is shades of gray. There is going to be a shade of gray that you are in when you're doing something. It's either going to be the lighter end of the spectrum or the darker end of the spectrum. Where you're crossing that line into the darker end of the spectrum is intent. It is, why are you doing this thing? And it's also one of those things where, and I'm going to say this in a different way than it was taught to me, but it'll still hit home the same way. Basically, if they were doing to you what you are doing to them, basically, if the roles were reversed, how would you feel? How would it affect you? Like, say I told Joe Schmo down the street he was a sad piece of shit. And it was because he parked in my parking spot. Well, me telling him he's a sad piece of shit's kind of out of line, because if the roles were reversed and I was in his parking spot and he called me a sad piece of shit, I'd be pissed. I mean, a lot of it is just common sense and common courtesy. Magic does not negate the fact that you are ultimately human, and that you owe everybody around you respect and common courtesy. You owe everybody the same respect and common courtesy that you would expect to be given. I mean, I expect nothing more than the common courtesy of a human. Hi, I am a person. Just respect that. We'll build from there. And, I mean, which that also goes to intent. Some people are very authoritarian. They don't want to give anyone that base level of respect. They feel like that base level of respect has to be earned. No, it doesn't. If you are human, you deserve that base level of respect. And when you do your work, whatever magic it is, you need to also give the person that you are doing work on or for that same base level of respect. Respect, consent, boundaries. 3 things you need to always remember when doing your magical work. And I just realized I spiraled. I realized I spiraled from one subject to another. I think I'll have to make the common sense witchy rules video a different video. If y'all want to see it, let me know. Because now I'm debating about it. Because I don't want to sound super preachy. I really don't. This was literally me starting on Shades of Grey and going into basic human decency. And I don't know how I got there. I am beyond tired. I think that's how I got there. Also, and this is going to be my last note. And I say this because I know a lot of people who are coming into witchcraft and all that or spiritualism, are coming out of, say, Christianity, Judaism, Catholicism, Christian religions. You have left that. You have to be open-minded. and open to two-sided conversations. You cannot learn until you have a open and honest conversation. Words are hard, I apologize. About the spiritualism on both ends. If you just consider yourself spiritual and you meet someone who is a witch, you might be doing stuff that is witchcraft and not realize it. There is a lot of crossover between being Wiccan or Wicca, practicing Wicca, and just being spiritual. Just being spiritual is also considered kind of sort of a form of paganism. Paganism is a lot wider and broader than most people realize. And most forms of paganism consist of some form of energy work or magic. It really does. Even if it's using herbs and flowers for teas and tonics, elixirs, oils. That is magic. But it's called something else, probably, to you. Or you don't see it as that. You just see it as natural remedies. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The Native Americans considered it natural remedies. But one person's natural remedy is another person's magic. Everything is a lot more closely related than anyone thinks. Religion and spirituality in general is like a diamond. And a friend of mine told me this. Everything is connected. One thing is mirroring the other, back and forth, practices included a lot of the times. And it just all centers in this one little ball or diamond of spirituality. It's just a million different names and it's all just different names that go to the same stories. Almost the exact same stories. Unless you're going along the lines of, and I think even Native Americans have some of the same stories too, but they are considered more, I guess, animistic, almost. They believe that there is some being, at least some Native Americans consider that there is some being that gives all these things the energy that they have, but at the same time, and it varies from tribe to tribe and person to person. It's expanded over the years. But it's very much an ancestral thing and an animistic thing where everything has its own energy. You have your own energy. I have my own energy. The grass outside each blade of grass outside has its own energy. You thank the earth for what you were allowed to use. You give back to the earth. That sort of thing. But yeah, and there might be stories that are also very similar in Native American culture as there is in every other religion and spirituality. But anyways, yes, if you consider yourself just spiritual, realistically you're pagan. And no, pagans do not worship the devil. If I have a more Southern Baptist tell me I worship the devil, I am going to lose my mind. More than I already have. I'm debating if I have any mind left after this past month, honestly. But, anyways, I hope everyone has a great weekend. And I will see you sometime next week. And also, I am doing a podcast hopefully tomorrow with a friend of mine unrelated to witchcraft, but it is based around basically domestic violence and abuse. This friend of mine is running for city congress or city chairman. Everything's been a blur. I can't think of the words. And she runs a worldwide organization that helps people who have been involved in domestic violence and human trafficking. And I'm helping her out and working with her, and hopefully soon she'll be working with some friends of mine as well on a bigger project. Whenever the guy that runs the foundation, who I'm trying to set her up with, whenever he gets home. That's a long story too, but that's a different channel story. Everyone, have a great weekend, and I will hopefully see you next week. Bye.